In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to replace your front brakes on your Honda Pilot, located behind the front wheels. I'm going to take a 22mm socket and I'm going to take off this wheel. All right, we're going to use a 17mm and remove our caliper slide bolts. Put those off to the side. All right, now that you got your bolts out, you're going to pry away the caliper, hang it up on your bungee cord or caliper hanger. Be sure not to kink the hose. All right, so now we're going to notice how our brake pads are set up. We have our spring clips here. I always look for where the squealers are. Sometimes they're just on one side, so I'm assuming they're on that side. So we're going to take these out. Put pointy side in, these little holes for when you install. Take off your pads. All right, I'm going to use a 19mm swivel socket and get my caliper bracket bolts out, just one here and one there. I have a hand on the bracket so it doesn't fall. Take it down. All right, so now we're going to use an impact drive screwdriver and we're going to get our rotor off. Take that screw out, put it off the side, and take off our rotor. All right, so now you want to make sure that you clean up your hub area for the new rotor. So you can use a wire brush. You can use a little brake clean it up. Let that air dry, and then we're going to put some anti-seize. We're going to use the spray stuff. It's a little easier to work with. All right, so now I'm going to take off my cap off my bleeder. We're going to open up our bleeder a little bit to compress the caliper with a 10mm. Just going to close that a little bit. All right, once we crack that bleeder open, we're going to have a drain bucket below us. All right, so we're going to compress our caliper. Make sure your bleeder screw is a little open so the fluid has a place to go. Close my caliper. I'm going to tighten up my bleeder screw and I'm going to go to the bench and work on our caliper bracket. All right, so here we are with our caliper bracket. I'm going to take out my bolts. I'm going to take these apart. All right, so now I'm going to gently take my flathead screwdriver and free up the boot of the slides. What we want to do is take these off completely, take the slides out, and clean everything up. Take that out. Take that out. All right, so now we want to go in there. Clean that out. We're going to use some silicone paste. So we're going to stick some of this in there. We are going to put some silicone paste inside this boot. You want to squeeze the brush through and get all that grease in the ribs. Now we're going to put this back in the bracket. We are going to wipe off the old paste and put on the new. Nice thin coat. Place your slide in there. And push it all the way down. I'm going to get rid of all that air that's in there. Okay, what you're looking for is some vacuum in there. It tells you there's no more air. So if you push it down, it doesn't really want to go back up. It's kind of holding itself in. Now we're going to move on to the other one. Take my slide out. This boot came off nice. I'm going to add new paste. Place that off to the side. Get our boot. Make sure there's no cracks or anything. Put some new grease inside. Squeeze the brush through. Get it in those ribs. Now we're going to put some paste inside. Put our boot on after we put paste in that. Take our slide, push down, looking to get rid of that air. Wipe off the excess. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, so now we're going to take these off. Our shims here, tins, whatever you want to call them. I always put them down the same way I took them off. And we are going to clean this up with our wire brush. Clean up the other side as well. You're looking to get off the rust so that the new shims are seated well. We're going to use some Pat's cleaner, brake clean. And again, we're going to apply some silicone paste. Thin coat. I'm going to find our new ones. I'm going to match up what we got here. Make sure they look the same or similar. Put these in here. If you find that there's like a little bent spot, you can try to bend that back so you don't have a hard time getting in your new pads. There's 1, 2. All right, so now we're ready to put our bracket back on the car and place our pads in the bracket. I'm going to bring my spring clips in there. All right, so now we're going to put our rotor on. Make sure you line up the hole on the rotor to where your screw was. So my hole is there for the screw and the hole is right behind it. Screw that in, hold our rotor on. And while I'm here, I'm going to put my bleeder cap on so I don't forget it. All right, so now we're going to put a bracket on. Usually start with my top bolt. These will be torqued to 101 foot-pounds. So I usually put them in hand tight. Here we are, we're going to put our pads in. We are making sure that our squealer is where it was when we took off, so it's on the top. And now we're going to put our spring clips in. like this. And that helps the pads push up against the caliper. Make sure you have a good handle on your pads after you put those in, or while you put those in. We are going to take our caliper and get the first bolt started on the top, and get our bottom one started on the bottom. You may have to push that slide out of the way if it doesn't go in on its own. Now we're going to torque our slide bolts to 53 foot-pounds. Here we are getting our wheel on. Get your lug nuts on, hand tight first. Take your 22 millimeter, and we're going to snug these up a little bit. In a star-like pattern, that's how you want to put them on. Make sure the wheel is on there evenly. All right, once we get the car back on the ground, and the wheel is secured by the weight of it, we're going to torque it to 94 foot-pounds. Again, in a star-like pattern. All right, and then I like to go around one more time just to make sure. And you're good to go. All right, now that you have your wheel back on and it's torqued, you're gonna pump up your brake pedal and then take it for a test drive.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.